Bill O'Reilly with us tonight, host of the No Spin News, which you can find on YouTube. His new book, Confronting Evil, the Worst of the Worst. You'll notice the former supreme leader of Iran is on the cover, the first Ayatollah. Bill, always good to have you on.
Nice to see you, Leland.
There we go, flu season. I'm going to ask you a provocative question.
Uh-oh.
Has immigration become a loser of an issue, not with the Trump base, but with independents?
I don't know that. Polling on it is all over the place, but I can tell you the Democratic Party has switched from affordability to illegal immigration. That is the hill they're fighting on now. It might change, they might switch back. But right now, the Democratic Party believes that because of the death of Renee Good, and that struck particularly women voters in an emotional way, they can capitalize on that. The problem with the Democrats is that the resistance is so over the top. It's so blatantly ideological to the left that most Americans, even though they feel very sorry for Renee Good, they reject these people. So I wrote a column on BillO'Reilly.com called Rebellion. This is not a protest in Minnesota or Oregon or California. This is a rebellion.
Right, fighting with ICE is different than protesting.
You can protest ICE all day long, okay? But if you're not going to obey federal law, as clearly Minnesota and Oregon are not, they're not going to obey the law. That is a rebellion, just as we saw in the South before the Civil War and during the Vietnam War. So those are the only two times that the American people, at least some of them, were in open rebellion against the federal government.
Okay, so Tim Walz actually compared the stand that the ICE protesters are taking, or the rioters are taking, whatever you want to call them, to the Minnesota 1st Regiment of the Union Army at Gettysburg in July of 1864. Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, I can see you smiling already, of Minnesota, says this.
It just has to stop. We allege that the obvious targeting of Minnesota for our diversity, for our democracy, and our differences of opinion with the federal government is a violation of the Constitution.
So clearly Democrats have decided this works with their base.
Yeah.
Republicans have decided it works with their base. I return to the middle of America, who I think agrees with Donald Trump that criminal aliens need to be deported.
Right.
Most illegal aliens maybe even need to be deported, but they see those pictures and it makes them uncomfortable. Does ICE not need to change what it's doing, but its tactics and how it's doing it?
Yes, absolutely. ICE needs to de-escalate when...
What do you mean by that?
Well, if you're in a position as an ICE agent where you feel deadly force may be necessary, okay, then you should pull back and assess where you are. That woman could have been arrested after the fact, easily after the fact. The woman who was killed.
Very good, yeah.
Okay. She didn't have to be confronted with a guy cursing at her and screaming at her at that moment. Did not have to. So my advice to Kristi Noem and to Homeland Security in general would be, if it gets to a point where violence may break out, you have to de-escalate it. And that is in every single police manual in this country. Well, every one.
Okay, but let's look at it in a broader sense, right? I mean, you want to talk about de-escalating situations. Sending an extra 2,000 agents in to a situation that is already combustible, that's not de-escalating.
No, listen, the Trump administration is enforcing the 1952 immigration law. It's very clear. And because Biden allowed 15 million foreign nationals in the country unsupervised, maybe 1 million criminals came in.
Right.
And they have to be found. And you can't find them unless you mass agents to go look. And then you have the corruption in Minnesota. I smiled about Ellison. Ellison had to know that federal money is being ripped off. I don't know if he knew it was $9 billion, but he had to know it, okay? Because the clinics that were funded by the federal money, nobody was there.
Well, some of them grew faster than NVIDIA.
Well,
And
it's his job.
Yeah, okay.
It's Ellison's
Well,
job. And it's a small state. It's not New York City. It's 11 million people in the state. And you can't supervise it? And now you're saying that the Trump administration is irresponsible or causing danger by flooding the zone and trying to get these criminals out? That's absurd. It's your fault that this happened in the first place.
You seem to see a danger for Donald Trump in these immigration crackdowns, arrests, whatever you want to call
it. If another woman is shot dead, that is going to hurt the Trump administration.
Unquestionably.
There's no doubt about it.
So you now see, and Donald Trump is the expert on the pivot, right?
Right.
There's very few who are as good as him. And he sees this, right? He is now moving towards Iran. Big protests in Iran. Obviously, these are the same kind of protests that Barack Obama turned his back on. Same with Joe Biden. The Ayatollah is unquestionably evil, right? To use
no doubt
your words. This is the problem, though, in terms of military strikes, right? That Donald Trump likes victories. Killing Soleimani, grabbing Maduro, taking out Iran's nuclear facilities. How do you get a victory militarily for Donald Trump quickly in this?
With a targeted military action.
So you take out the Ayatollah, decapitation.
Well, if you could get him, you get him. There's no doubt about it. He's a war criminal. So if you can get the Ayatollah like Maduro, you get him.
But what if you just bomb him and kill him?
I'm not sure, because there'd be so many civilian deaths. So you'd have to cope with that. I spoke to the president on Saturday, and we discussed this very issue. And I don't offer unsolicited advice, so he asked me. And I said, if you have a situation where U.S. military action can tip it, where the Ayatollah and his thugs have to leave, you do it. You do it in a heartbeat. But if it's just maybe kind of might, you wait. Because it's going to go, I don't believe that the mullahs are going to survive. I don't believe that, all right? Because now we have defections in the army. Once you have defections in a national army, then you have a point of no return. It's not like the people, the army units that are defecting away from the Ayatollah's authority can come back.
Right.
They can't.
No, you can have the other question is you have a civil war. But there's a different question here, right? Because over the past week, he has said, if you start shooting protesters, we're going to shoot. We're locked and loaded. There's a number of different things. You and I were both at Fox News. I was a Mideast correspondent. You had the highest rated show on cable news. When Barack Obama kept talking about the red line in Syria, cross the red line, they used gas, I'm going in. They crossed the red line, used gas, nothing happened. Destroyed his credibility.
Historical mistake.
Is Trump's credibility on the line in terms of no?
Not when you blow up their nuclear facility. Come on, he's already established himself.
So you're saying that he doesn't have to
follow
through?
No, the United States can wait on this, but if an opportunity presents itself, and remember, the CIA, like in Venezuela, like in Colombia, like in Mexico, CIA is in Iran, okay? They are issuing assessments of what is likely to happen. If the assessment comes back from U.S. Intel and Mossad, the best in the world, that if you do this, United States, the mullahs are through and they have to abdicate to Moscow, you do it.
Okay. This is you, June 16th, 2025, about a U.S. strike against the Iran nuclear facilities. Take a listen.
He doesn't want to use American air power at this point because that would cause some problems with China and Putin. He would rather have the Iranians surrender, which he believes they will.
10 days later, I'm midnight hammer.
Right. So I'm not always right. But that was a difficult decision for President Trump.
Trump feels the same way about China right now vis-a-vis Iran?
Depends on the day. I think that the influence of Russia and China now has sailed in Iran because the people have risen up. So that was a consideration last summer because both of those nations were doing big business with Iran. But now, because the people have made it clear they want the Ayatollah and his thugs out, they are not a factor anymore, Russia or China.
Okay. So we've put both of these things together. Immigration, which you say could cause big troubles for the Trump administration if someone else dies. You think just if someone else dies, or if there's even more violence?
No, it depends in the context. The American people don't trust the press reporting anymore.
Right.
They think that Walls and Fry and these people are loons. They have no credibility at all. They're talking to a very, very small radical left crew. That's what they're talking.
So you say that it has a potential of an issue. Foreign policy doesn't sway elections. The one thing that does sway elections over and over again is the economy. You've laid that out as well. One of your favorite people, Elizabeth Warren, was on CNN today.
What I want to do is win. I want to win in November of 2026. Democrats need to run the most populist campaign since the Great Depression if we want to win in 2026.
I would ask her, but she's not available, evidently, to come on for an interview with us. But how do you run a populist campaign and also support illegal immigrants and the Ayatollah in Iran?
Because the two aren't linked in the minds of many American voters. But Elizabeth Warren is giving the Democratic Party some good advice there. Because the hill they're on now, not obeying federal law at all. They won't even go after criminals, Minnesota and Oregon. They won't even go after criminals. They don't want ICE at all. Get out. Get the F out. We don't need you here, okay? That's not going to play. But if somehow the Democrats can convince the American voter that he or she is in dire straits, because that's what they have to do, while the economy is pretty good overall, the macro economy, okay, then the Democrats have a chance. And that's the only chance they have.
All right. So speaking of the economy, the one place that Donald Trump seems to keep pushing on the economy that he is not happy about is Jay Powell, who is chairman of the Federal Reserve. He is not happy that Jay Powell will not lower interest rates. Here it is.
We have a stupid person, frankly, at the Fed. He's terrible. If we're going to spend $600 billion a year, $600 billion, because of one numbskull. He's like a knucklehead, a stupid guy. I'll be honest, I'd love to fire his ass.
You never have to wonder where you stand in Donald Trump's book. But Department of Justice is now investigating Jay Powell for allegedly lying to Congress about the cost of building the new Federal Reserve, on and on. There is reporting out that Donald Trump did not know that this was happening, nor did anybody at Main Justice, Jeanine Pirro, the D.C. U.S. Attorney. Is this a good idea?
It doesn't matter, because American people don't know who Jerome Powell is. They don't know what the Fed does. They don't care about it. It's not a big issue in their mind. What is a big issue is the recurring theme that if the President of the United States doesn't like you, the FBI is going to show up. That's a recurring theme.
Is that a good theme?
Is what? It depends on the case.
No, but is that recurring theme a good thing for Donald Trump?
No, of course not, because Americans don't want a totalitarian. If you don't see it my way, I'm going to try to throw you in prison. That's not what we do here. However, it should be a case-by-case basis. Say Mr. Powell, for some reason, vastly misled the country about how much the dopey building cost. He should be held to account, just like Comey. Comey's going to get away with it. All right?
Of course he is.
But Comey did so many bad things.
Tish James going to get away with it too?
Who?
Tish James.
I'm hearing
there's more?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the question. I think what you're setting out here, right, is obviously crazy that it's January 12th and Maduro was 9 days ago. Right. Of how much has happened. You were on the air that night. But you seem to be laying out that there are some real dangers for President Trump ahead.
President Trump is in a spot where he could win huge, as he would say, huge, all right? But he can't overstep it. You see? He's got to be methodical about it.
He's overstepping, overplaying.
Over who?
Overplaying your hand.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just go in and blow everything up. So Greenland's the best example. Americans aren't going to support a U.S. military invasion of Greenland. They're not. And so everybody knows that. Trump knows it. But it's bluster, all right? So the people in Copenhagen are coming now to Washington this week, very secret, Will tell us where, when, and Rubio, the Secretary of State, who I think is doing a very good job.
He's got a lot of jobs.
Because he's the one that brings down a temperature, Rubio. He's the chief negotiator. And we'll get what we want, which is a submarine base in Greenland. We'll get it. But Donald Trump's style is, here's the grenade, throwing it in, and then boom, and then the people come running out, and they say, okay, we'll give you what you want. That's his style. That's what he's always done, and he believes it works for him.
All right. Bill, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you in studio as always.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.